One of the most prominent statements in Donald Trump's trade policy was, "We don't need cars from Canada. We don't need energy from Canada. We don't need anything from Canada." These words reflect Trump's policy aimed at reducing dependence on other countries and promoting domestic production. This is a bold move from a president known for his America First strategy. Trump set clear demands for protecting domestic industries, from automobiles to energy. This policy aimed to return the U.S. to a self-sufficient economy where the country is less dependent on foreign resources and products. However, this also means there will be serious consequences for America's major trade partners, including Canada, one of the U.S.'s key trade allies. This executive order has created significant challenges in transporting goods from other countries to the U.S. The tariffs and new regulations have increased shipping costs, making imports and exports more complicated than ever. This not only affects large businesses, but also has a widespread impact on consumers as the prices of imported goods rise. Industries that rely on imported goods from Canada, particularly the automotive and energy sectors, have faced severe disruptions. U.S. car manufacturers, who depend on supplies from Canada, have had to seek alternative raw materials, which is costly and reduces their competitiveness in the international market. For the energy sector, cutting off supply from Canada could lead to shortages and higher prices for oil and natural gas. Additionally, other industries such as technology, consumer goods, and pharmaceuticals have also been affected, as these tariffs have made imports more difficult and expensive. One of the biggest impacts of the executive order has been the disruption in international postal services. Major shipping companies in Europe, including those in Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and Italy, have stopped shipping most goods to the U.S. This not only affects small businesses, but also disrupts the global supply chain. The shift in U.S. trade policies could create waves of disruption in industries related to logistics and international transportation. As other countries respond to America's policies, the world may witness a significant trade shift, with nations seeking new partners or developing domestic markets. The shift in trade policies not only impacts the U.S., but also triggers global changes. Countries may seek new opportunities from partners other than the U.S., which could shift the balance of power in global trade. In just 1 year, 7 countries have turned their backs on U.S. products. These countries, once key trade partners of the U.S. in sectors like automobiles, energy, and technology, have sought to reduce their dependence on American products and look for alternatives from other nations. This is not only a reaction to Trump's trade policies, but also reflects a larger trend in the restructuring of global supply chains. The refusal of U.S. products by these countries can be seen as a turning point in global trade. It shifts the international trade map as nations seek to establish new trade agreements, while also implementing strategies to strengthen domestic production and reduce reliance on other countries. This signals a shift in the global power structure, where nations are beginning to lessen their dependence on major economies like the U.S. Donald Trump's executive order has brought significant changes to international trade and economic relations between the U.S. and its partners. While the policy was designed to strengthen the U.S. economy, it has had far-reaching consequences for the global economy. Countries have responded by seeking new partners, leading to a shift in the global trade structure. The decline in trade relations between the U.S. and other nations may continue to affect the world economy for years to come. We can see that while protectionist policies may offer short-term benefits, they can also lead to unforeseen long-term impacts on global trade. This reminds us that in a globalized world, a shift in trade policy by a major country like the U.S. can send powerful waves of influence to other nations and the global economy. These effects highlight the importance for countries to carefully consider and ensure that measures aimed at protecting national interests do not harm long-term sustainable trade relationships. If you agree with the long-term impacts of the executive order and believe that nations should carefully consider trade policies, leave a 1 in the comments. If you disagree, leave a 0. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support our channel. For decades, the Made in America label has been a symbol of superior quality and innovation in manufacturing. Products bearing the Made in America label not only represented the strong development of the U.S. economy, but also embodied national pride. showcasing the creativity and reputation of American products on the international stage. However, changes in trade policy under Donald Trump's leadership have begun to profoundly impact this value. Trump's high tariffs and protectionist measures have eroded the competitive advantage that American products once held. U.S. products are no longer the preferred choice for many countries, as their value has diminished due to higher costs and trade barriers. This reflects a significant shift in consumer perception and international markets regarding Made in America products. The pride in American-made goods has gradually faded, opening up a new opportunity for other countries, particularly Canada, to dominate the market. As Made in America has lost some of its previous appeal, countries and consumers have begun seeking alternative products, especially from Canada. Canadian products are not only praised for their quality, but also for their sustainability and responsibility in the production process. Industries such as automobiles, energy, and agriculture in Canada have quickly replaced U.S. products in many international markets. This shift has not only brought economic benefits to Canada, but also reflects a new global consumer trend, where consumers are increasingly seeking products from countries with clear environmental protection standards, transparency in production, and a commitment to sustainability. The shift from Made in America to Made in Canada is not just a change in supply sources, but also a shift in how consumers evaluate products. Today's consumers are looking for products with both functional value and ethical value. Products made in an environmentally conscious way. Canadian products, with their clear commitment to environmental protection and transparency in production processes, have sparked a new wave of consumerism, gaining trust from global consumers. The shift from Made in America to Made in Canada is gaining strong momentum in the international market. Canadian products are increasingly becoming symbols of high quality, transparency, and a commitment to sustainability. Canada has established itself not only as a manufacturing nation, but also as a responsible producer of goods that meet environmental protection and sustainable development standards. This shift is not just an industry change, but also a cultural shift in global consumerism. Canadian products have gradually become the preferred choice for consumers, not only for their quality, but also for the ethical values and sustainability they represent. Sustainability in production has become a crucial factor in consumer product choices. Environmental protection standards, clear origins, and responsible production processes are elements that today's consumers highly value. Canadian products meet all these requirements and have become symbols of sustainable development. This has led to a significant change in how countries and consumers perceive trade value, measuring not only output but also the process and method of production. The shift from Made in America to Made in Canada reflects a major trend in the global trade market. Trump's protectionist trade policies have diminished the trade value of the U.S., opening up opportunities for other countries, particularly Canada, to dominate international markets. Canada has succeeded in building a strong national brand based on product quality, transparency in production processes, and a commitment to sustainability. This shift not only has economic implications, but also creates a wave of change in consumer culture, where consumers are increasingly seeking products with sustainable and ethical production values. These changes could spark a new trend in trade values, where consumers and countries place higher importance on transparency, sustainability, and ethics in manufacturing goods. Countries and businesses need to realize that in a globalized world, maintaining sustainable and responsible trade relationships will be a key factor for success in international markets. The lesson from this shift is that building a sustainable economy is not only about product output, but also about production methods and environmental commitment. Countries must focus on increasing transparency in production processes and enhancing sustainable values to meet the growing demands of global consumers. The shift in product choices in Brazil is becoming a clear sign of a broader transformation in the global market. Popular American products like Pringles and Oreo, once dominant on supermarket shelves, are gradually losing ground as Canadian products are taking over the market. The primary reason is that consumers in Brazil have begun to prioritize Canadian products, which are highly valued for their transparency and reliability in the production process. The image of Canadian products is increasingly positive, with a commitment to sustainability and responsible production processes, which makes Brazilian consumers feel more confident compared to American products. which are facing criticism due to U.S. trade policies. This not only reduces the market share of American products, but also reflects a growing consumer trend as markets around the world, including Brazil, seek products with higher sustainability and ethical production practices. Major U.S. brands are now struggling to maintain their market share, especially as consumers begin to turn to other products, such as those from Canada, with a more positive and trustworthy image. A prime example of the impact of this shift is the decline in Kellogg's sales in Brazil. This well-known American brand has witnessed a significant consumer shift towards Canadian products. Consumers are now not only seeking high-quality products, but also value transparency in production and a commitment to sustainability. Meanwhile, Kellogg's products and other American brands have struggled to fully meet these demands. This shift is not limited to Brazil. It has widespread implications in other markets, where the demand for sustainable and transparent products is increasingly important. A deeper analysis shows that Kellogg's revenue decline reflects a global trend. Today's consumers are no longer judging products solely by quality and usability, but also by the production process and brand ethics. Canadian products, with their commitment to sustainability and transparency in manufacturing, have gained consumer trust, while American brands have struggled to adapt to this new trend. In Australia, a significant shift has occurred as American fashion brands have begun to lose ground to Canadian fashion brands. The Australian market, which has long favored international products, is now turning towards Canadian offerings. Canadian brands have understood the needs of Australian consumers and have adjusted their products and marketing strategies to align with the culture and lifestyle of the market. In contrast, American brands have struggled to adapt to the demands and consumer trends in Australia, preventing them from maintaining their position. The reason for this change is that Canadian brands not only offer high-quality products, but also commit to sustainability, which is highly valued by Australian consumers. Their flexibility in business strategies, along with a focus on sustainability and cultural alignment, has allowed Canadian brands to easily build strong relationships with Australian customers. One of the key factors driving this shift is the ability of Canadian brands to adjust their products and business strategies to better align with the needs and preferences of consumers in different countries. Canadian brands have shown flexibility in responding to the changing demands of the market, especially as sustainability and social responsibility requirements become increasingly important to consumers. In contrast, American brands have struggled to adapt their strategies to meet new consumer trends in international markets. Consumer habits in countries like Brazil and Australia differ significantly from those in the U.S., and American brands have not been flexible enough to adjust to these changes. This has led to a loss of their competitive edge, especially when compared to products from Canada. The impact of the shift in the global trade market is becoming increasingly evident, as Canadian products gradually replace American products in various sectors. Canadian brands, due to their flexibility in product strategies and commitment to sustainability, have earned the trust of consumers and established themselves in the global market. These changes not only affect major brands like Kellogg's and Pringles, but also reshape how consumers assess product value, from quality to the production process. Looking ahead, the global consumer market will continue to shift towards products from countries like Canada, where values of transparency, sustainability, and ethical production are becoming increasingly important in consumer purchasing decisions. U.S. brands must quickly adjust their strategies to keep up with this trend, or they will continue to lose ground in the global competition. The shift in product choices in Brazil is becoming a clear sign of a broader transformation in the global market. Popular American products like Pringles and Oreo, once dominant on supermarket shelves, are gradually losing ground as Canadian products are taking over the market. The primary reason is that consumers in Brazil have begun to prioritize Canadian products, which are highly valued for their transparency and reliability in the production process. The image of Canadian products is increasingly positive, with a commitment to sustainability and responsible production processes, which makes Brazilian consumers feel more confident compared to American products, which are facing criticism due to U.S. trade policies. This not only reduces the market share of American products, but also reflects a growing consumer trend, as markets around the world, including Brazil, seek products with higher sustainability and ethical production practices. Major U.S. brands are now struggling to maintain their market share, especially as consumers begin to turn to other products, such as those from Canada, with a more positive and trustworthy image. A prime example of the impact of this shift is the decline in Kellogg's sales in Brazil. This well-known American brand has witnessed a significant consumer shift towards Canadian products. Consumers are now not only seeking high-quality products but also value transparency in production and a commitment to sustainability. Meanwhile, Kellogg's products and other American brands have struggled to fully meet these demands. This shift is not limited to Brazil. It has widespread implications in other markets, where the demand for sustainable and transparent products is increasingly important. A deeper analysis shows that Kellogg's revenue decline reflects a global trend. Today's consumers are no longer judging products solely by quality and usability, but also by the production process and brand ethics. Canadian products, with their commitment to sustainability and transparency in manufacturing, have gained consumer trust, while American brands have struggled to adapt to this new trend. In Australia, a significant shift has occurred as American fashion brands have begun to lose ground to Canadian fashion brands. The Australian market, which has long favored international products, is now turning towards Canadian offerings. Canadian brands have understood the needs of Australian consumers and have adjusted their products and marketing strategies to align with the culture and lifestyle of the market. In contrast, American brands have struggled to adapt to the demands and consumer trends in Australia, preventing them from maintaining their position. The reason for this change is that Canadian brands not only offer high-quality products, but also commit to sustainability, which is highly valued by Australian consumers. Their flexibility in business strategies, along with a focus on sustainability and cultural alignment, has allowed Canadian brands to easily build strong relationships with Australian customers. One of the key factors driving this shift is the ability of Canadian brands to adjust their products and business strategies to better align with the needs and preferences of consumers in different countries. Canadian brands have shown flexibility in responding to the changing demands of the market, especially as sustainability and social responsibility requirements become increasingly important to consumers. In contrast, American brands have struggled to adapt their strategies to meet new consumer trends in international markets. Consumer habits in countries like Brazil and Australia differ significantly from those in the U.S., and American brands have not been flexible enough to adjust to these changes. This has led to a loss of their competitive edge, especially when compared to products from Canada. The impact of the shift in the global trade market is becoming increasingly evident as Canadian products gradually replace American products in various sectors. Canadian brands, due to their flexibility in product strategies and commitment to sustainability, have earned the trust of consumers and established themselves in the global market. These changes not only affect major brands like Kellogg's and Pringles, but also reshape how consumers assess product value, from quality to the production process. Looking ahead, the global consumer market will continue to shift towards products from countries like Canada, where values of transparency, sustainability, and ethical production are becoming increasingly important in consumer purchasing decisions. U.S. brands must quickly adjust their strategies to keep up with this trend, or they will continue to lose ground in the global competition. The shift in consumer trust in developed markets is becoming a crucial factor in changing the global trade map. In India and the Gulf countries, political and economic instability has strongly impacted consumer confidence in American products. Tariffs, protectionist measures, and diplomatic issues have led consumers in these regions to begin doubting the sustainability and transparency of U.S. products. These factors have resulted in a clear shift, with consumers now prioritizing products from countries with more sustainable and transparent values, with Canada emerging as a reliable alternative. Canadian products, which meet the criteria of transparency in production processes and a commitment to environmental protection, have quickly gained market share in India and the Gulf countries, replacing American products, which have lost value due to a lack of transparency and protectionist policies. Over the past year, India has witnessed a significant decline in imports from the U.S., with a drop of up to 17% within just 5 months. The primary reason for this decline is the inability of American products to meet the expectations of Indian consumers regarding transparency, quality, and environmental friendliness. American brands no longer hold the same appeal, especially as consumers in India begin to prioritize products with clear origins and more sustainable production processes. In contrast, Canadian products have seen a strong growth of 31% during the same period. With marketing strategies focusing on sustainability and aligning with Indian consumer needs, Canada has gradually taken over the Indian market, replacing American products that once dominated. This shift not only reflects a change in consumer behavior, but also indicates that global consumers are increasingly prioritizing transparency and sustainability in the production process. The UAE is a unique market with very strict halal standards for imported products, particularly in the food and pharmaceutical sectors. American brands have faced significant challenges in meeting these standards due to differences in production processes and the lack of necessary halal certifications. This has created a major obstacle for American brands in maintaining their market share in the UAE. In contrast, Canadian products, which comply with halal regulations and have transparent production processes, have quickly gained market share in the UAE, replacing American products. Canadian products not only meet quality requirements but also align with the specific religious and cultural needs of this market. This highlights the importance of flexibility in production and marketing strategies for success in developed and culturally diverse markets like the UAE. In Japan, American products are facing significant challenges in meeting timely delivery requirements, which is a crucial factor in this market. Issues such as customs procedures and the lack of flexibility in logistics processes have caused delays, preventing American products from meeting consumer demand in a timely manner. This has led to disappointment among Japanese consumers, who expect timely and flexible service from American products. In contrast, Canadian products, with their flexible logistics processes and adherence to local requirements, have seen strong growth in Japan. Canadian products not only meet the delivery deadlines but also gain trust for their quality and transparency in production. Thanks to flexibility and a commitment to sustainability, Canada has taken over the market share in Japan that was once dominated by American brands. Canadian products have demonstrated flexibility and alignment with local requirements in developed markets like India, the UAE, and Japan. This is reflected not only in compliance with production standards, but also in a deep understanding of the culture and consumer needs of these markets. Canadian brands have built sustainable relationships with consumers through marketing strategies that emphasize transparency, environmental protection, and alignment with local demands. In contrast, American brands have struggled to adjust their strategies to meet the requirements and cultures of these countries. The lack of flexibility and failure to meet the demand for transparency and sustainability have caused American products to lose their position in these markets. The shift in consumer trust and priorities in developed markets has created a significant opportunity for Canadian products to replace American products across various sectors. From India and the UAE to Japan, Canadian products are proving their superiority in transparency, sustainability, and alignment with local requirements. American brands need to quickly adjust their strategies to meet these demands, or they will continue to fall behind in developed markets. Looking ahead, developed markets will remain a crucial battleground, where products with sustainable values and cultural alignment like those from Canada will increasingly dominate. In the past, Made in America was a symbol of quality, innovation, and global economic power. Products bearing this label were often seen as the pinnacle of creativity and prestige, ranging from technology to consumer goods. However, under the influence of protectionist policies and sweeping changes in the global economy, the Made in America brand has gradually lost its previous appeal. U.S. trade protection policies, coupled with a lack of flexibility in adjusting production and meeting the new demands of international markets, have caused the image and value of American products to decline. Their incompatibility with local demands for sustainability, environmental protection, and transparency in production processes has led to American products losing their dominance in the global market. In fact, many international markets have begun to view American products as less attractive options compared to products from other countries. With the shift in global consumer trends, Canada has skillfully capitalized on changes in international standards and regulations to dominate the market. While American brands have struggled to adjust their strategies and products to meet global demands, Canada quickly seized this opportunity thanks to its strong commitment to sustainability, transparency in production, and social responsibility. Canada's production policies have easily adapted to global consumer trends, where consumers are increasingly seeking products that not only meet quality standards, but also commit to environmental protection and provide long-term benefits for communities. Canadian products are becoming increasingly popular due to their transparency in production processes and their flexibility in adjusting products to suit the needs of international markets. This has enabled Canada to capture market share in many countries, from Asia to Europe, and establish itself as a model for nations with modern and sustainable trade strategies. The U.S. is currently facing significant challenges in maintaining its global leadership, as trade and production strategies no longer meet the evolving demands of international markets. Operational mistakes, such as the lack of innovation and failure to timely adjust production processes, have caused the U.S. to lose its dominant position. The lack of flexibility in trade policies, coupled with an inability to meet sustainability and environmental protection demands, has weakened the strength of American products. Meanwhile, U.S. companies have struggled to adjust their strategies to align with new consumer trends, leading to a gradual loss of market share in developed markets, where consumers increasingly value products with sustainable origins and transparency. American brands are no longer the top choice for consumers, especially as they face fierce competition from countries with more flexible trade strategies such as Canada. Canada is not merely a replacement for the U.S. in many sectors, but is redefining modern trade practices. With a focus on sustainability, ethical production, and meeting global demands, Canada has emerged as a model for a country with a modern trade strategy, capable of quickly adapting and meeting the rigorous requirements of international markets. Canada is building a flexible trade model that can adapt to any changes in the global business environment. This not only helps Canada dominate the market, but also sets new standards for sustainable and transparent trade, from which other nations can learn and apply. With a long-term development strategy and a commitment to core values, Canada stands firm as a leader in shaping the global economy in the 21st century. The decline of Made in America and the strong rise of Canada marks a significant shift in global trade power. American products no longer hold the same dominant position as before, as protectionist policies and a lack of flexibility in strategies have caused them to lose their appeal. Meanwhile, Canada has capitalized on the changes in global standards to assert itself as a leader in sustainable trade, transparency, and social responsibility. Looking ahead, the global market will continue to witness this shift, with Canada playing a key role in reshaping the future of international trade. The U.S. will need to adjust its strategies to regain its leadership position, or it will continue to lose influence in critical sectors worldwide. Do you agree with the changes in global trade power, with Canada's rise and the decline of Made in America? If you agree, leave a 1 under the video, and if you disagree, comment 0. Don't forget to like and share the video to spread this message. In recent years, key markets such as Brazil, Australia, India, the UAE, Japan, France, and Germany have witnessed a clear shift in trade partner choices. American products, once dominant, are no longer the top priority for consumers and international businesses. Instead, Canadian products are being increasingly chosen. This reflects a change in global consumer perception regarding product value and quality. While American products face criticism for sustainability and transparency, Canadian products are gaining favor due to their strong commitment to sustainability and social responsibility. Transparency, sustainability, and social responsibility are 3 key factors that make Canadian products stand out in the global market. Consumers and international businesses are increasingly seeking products that not only meet high-quality standards, but also commit to environmental protection and uphold ethical principles in production. Canadian products have successfully met these stringent requirements, making them the preferred choice for global consumers. This is especially evident in industries such as food, technology, and consumer goods, where sustainability in production is becoming a top priority. Today's consumers evaluate products not just based on quality, but also on the production process, ethics, and transparency in manufacturing. This is why Canadian products easily gain the trust and preference of consumers worldwide. The shift in trade partner choices is not just a consumer trend, but also reflects a shift in global trade power. Canadian products are gradually replacing American products in many key industries. Developed markets like Japan, France, and Germany, as well as emerging markets like Brazil and India, are turning towards products with commitments to sustainability, transparency, and ethics. This change not only causes a loss of market share for American brands, but also signals a shift in trade power, as countries prioritize products that align with the new criteria of the international market. The U.S. is weakening its own position in global trade due to inflexibility and rigidity in its trade policies. American companies are struggling to quickly adapt to changes in international market demands. This has led to a decline in market share in both developed and emerging markets, where consumers and international businesses are increasingly focused on transparency and sustainability. If the U.S. fails to adjust its strategies and policies, it will continue to lose its position and influence in global trade. While U.S. companies struggle, Canadian companies are proving that innovation, flexibility, and transparency are key factors in maintaining global consumer trust. Canadian products have demonstrated sustainable growth through a strong commitment to environmental protection and transparency in production processes. Canadian companies not only excel in quality, but also in responsible manufacturing practices, which helps them maintain trust and preference among international consumers. The U.S. needs to quickly adjust its strategies and policies if it does not want to fall behind in global trade. Failure to meet the changing demands of the market and the lack of flexibility in trade policies could lead to the loss of leadership not only in trade, but also in international partnerships. The rise of countries like Canada shows that the U.S. will have to compete more fiercely and adapt swiftly if it wants to maintain its position in the future. What do you think this change means for the future of U.S. power? Are we witnessing a temporary decline or the beginning of a permanent downturn? If this video has made you reflect, don't forget to like and subscribe to support us and continue receiving more content like this. Thank you for watching, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.